right, I'm here.
Resplendent. I mean, we've got to tweet a picture of these gloves. Gauntlets would be a better word. You're right, Stuart. What are they? They're kind of they're like you said, like the wrong trousers.
Like the wrong trousers. Yes, as though. Well, as I say, be your own Black Prince.
Yeah. Are they for hawking or kestrel?
Do you want to have a little go?
Yeah.
The thing is, you see, if you threw down that gauntlet, it would make a really.
That's throwing down a real gauntlet.
That's a real gauntlet.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. Can you hear the clanking of the gauntlet?
That's ace.
Emphatically. Yeah. It gives your hand a reassuring weight, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
I read you saying this week something about the characteristic look that you have is dressing for battle.
Yeah.
But not in the kind of fighting sense, but in the sense of kind of a psychic battle, yeah?
Yeah, man, to be always there.
Always ready. Yeah.
And you wear the same clothes every day or loose variants on it?
Loose variants on it. I mean, I do have, 6 or 7 of these.
Yeah.
The leather jacket, the leather sleeveless biker jacket.
Yeah.
So you're ready for action?
Always ready for action.
Is that a new captain's hat?
1968 Vietnam Brigadier General United States Air Force.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always wearing the baddest that it can be.
Yeah.
And down the recycling about 4 weeks ago, right, I'm wearing post-war Luftwaffe.
Yeah.
This big, tall, older gentleman walks up to me and goes, I saw you down here with a USAF jacket hat the other day. You wouldn't like these, would you? And he gave me all of his squadron leader jackets.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's a talking
cool.
point, isn't it?
Very charming.
It's very warm, yeah.
That is cool.
So, I meet a lot of interesting people.
I bet you do. So, I think that the first time I met you, you were wearing a kind of, I think you had a knitted Mickey Mouse thing on, and you had something else, and you had jodhpurs on. You said, I'm dressing like this in order to bring out psychic vibes to bring down the government, and it worked.
Well, it did, didn't it, eventually?
Yeah.
I mean, I looked stupid enough to bring down Thatcher.
131 concerns, it's a kind of picaresque novel about a guy called Rock Section, and the things he's got up to with his musical football hooligan bandmates, and it becomes linked into mysterious goings on the island of Sardinia.
Yes.
Is it? You know what? I'm just going to ask you a really trite question now.
Go on.
Where did you get the idea? Has it been something that's been bubbling in your subconscious for years?
I keep saying the mere fact that I had to write a novel to deliver this story just says something about where I've found myself, you know.
Yeah.
It's I've travelled so much now that I've just I've heard the rummest stories of all the places, you know. And in order to bring them all into a good story, it had to be told as a novel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's technically fiction.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of true things in there. I mean, it starts off, you see, we threw forward to this yesterday. It starts off with someone losing control of their bowels into leather trousers on an aeroplane. Now, and of course, the temptation is to assume that that's an experience
It's
you've had.
autobiographical coping.
Yeah. But you wanted to set the tone from the beginning,
wanted to set
didn't
the tone,
you?
yeah. I figured, we come in on a slurry of poo.
Yeah.
and it's always going to be, as Martin Brahma would say, the only way out is up.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. 131 is the highway on Sardinia,
The only highway.
So why is it called 131 and not 1?
What I love about 131 is even mentioning the 131 to mainland Italians is like their sphincters pucker.
Really?
Because they just immediately get all sard on you. They're like, oh, it's that place.
Yeah.
I interviewed a carabinieri, a couple of carabinieri, but I interviewed this one guy who was at Italia 90 and needed to understand, and he was still having nightmares.
Really?
About it, yeah.
About what exactly?
What happens is the carabinieri, right? They're the federal police, right?
Yes.
Which, of course, we don't have them.
They're the one that carry guns, aren't
They're the
they?
one,
Yeah.
literally those who carry
Carry
carbines.
guns. Yes.
The
Right.
carabinieri. But what they do is they kind of do what Cromwell did with policing Ireland with the blackened towns from Scotland. Who will hate this part the most? Nobody more than this. So they policed Sardinia with people who had issues. Only the Carabinieri from up in the north
Yeah.
were
Right.
particularly suspicious of Sardinia. They brought them all down. And they do this apparently all over Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Is Sardinia a place you love? I was looking up Sardinia, actually. It looks very shishi. To buy a house in Sardinia, very expensive with a sea view now. Hugely expensive.
They don't have sea views. Right. If you've got a sea view, you're hanging with Tony Blair and
Yeah,
Berlusconi.
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
at the same time,
Which explains the prices.
2 months ago, for €8,000, you could buy a cave house.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the musical tradition like there? Because I'm on a Corsica, and some of the islands, you've got this strange, like, droney, guttural singing style. Is there a side in? Yeah.
You've got one of my favourite current bands are they are a Sardinian cave band of the kind that I invent in 131.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, they're called the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor.
Yes.
And they put out massive 2 or 3 CDs at a time.
Yeah.
What it is, I suppose, with Sardinia is it's as separate from the mainland of mainland Italy as Ireland used to be to mainland Britain.
It's actually closer to Africa, I think.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, it is. And there's so many different worldviews in Sardinia. There are people who, I won't go north of Birmingham.
Right.
Their equivalent of Birmingham is an administration capital where you have to carry a knife. And people won't go there, but other people won't go north. It's total fundamentalism.
And running along all this, there's a big strand of D.H. Lawrence in it as well.
Yeah, man. Because D.H. Lawrence wrote the last, decent comment in English. So I thought, well, I'll rain on his parade.
Carlito says, have you still got the Daffy Duck shorts mentioned on Autogeddon?
Yes.
That might be what you were wearing.
What, Daffy Duck shorts?
That might be what you were wearing, actually.
And Chris Brindle is very impressed with the gauntlets. He said, I want to touch them, but feel I am not worthy of wearing such awesomeness.
No, you're not.
Julie Diggs says, Sunspots. We had this song at our wedding ceremony. Isn't that nice?
That's beautiful, yeah, man.
There you go. Julie Diggs had Sunspots by Julian Cope from Fried at their wedding. Julian's here talking about 131. See, because of the character you are, you're very funny, you're very lively, you're very out there, as you say. But writing takes a lot of discipline. You're clearly a very disciplined person.
Yeah, man. I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
I think that the most important thing is that people recognise that I've been allowed to live a life that's so free.
Yeah.
That to me, it's provided evidence that the Western dream is not all gone. And I would say if the West was so totally corporate and nailed and sealed up, I wouldn't be paid money to go mental on stage.
That's paralleled in the book as well, isn't it? Because there is a sort of epic saga quality to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
An epic Norse mythological quality to it. And one of the messages that emerges from this is, and I picked this out, is that the fool persists in his folly. And that's the road to enlightenment. And that's almost art imitating life, imitating art, isn't it, for you?
It is, isn't it? Because merely by persisting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come through at the end and you're walking through Media City with your gauntlets on.
Yeah.
And it's like a kind of success.
No, massively a kind of success.
It's wild, isn't it?
I found that really empowering. The fool persists with his folly, which is what you must do.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
See? That's why I've just formed a new pirate-themed band. The fool persists in his folly.
Yes.
Do you think of yourself primarily as a writer these days, or not? Or do you think of yourself as primarily in anything? Or are you just a force?
I'm a force.
Yeah.
I said this the other day to my ladies. It's not the books, it's not the music, it's anything. It's for some reason when the two sevens clashed in 1977, I was informed by that great clash, and I'm still informed by that same vision.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, John the Postman, is in the novel.
Yeah. Who was a kind of extremely off-kilter punk icon of the Manchester days.
Yeah, I remember him being really...
Toothache was his big number.
Toothache.
Which could go on for about 25 minutes.
And often did, didn't it?
Yeah, at the Electric Circus.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I was explaining to the girls that when you've got something that is such a vital moment, then you're going to find renewal quite often just from remembering it.
Yeah.
I was reading an interview with Stuart Lee, who of course is a genius, as we know from his recent TV things. But and he's a big fan. And he's totally on your side. But he said even he admitted that there were parts of the book where he had no idea what was going on.
He was saying to me, he said, in literary terms, I suppose it's technically unputdownable. And then like the big 3 dots standing in Avebury Henge, and he went, but who's going to dare to review it?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that in itself was a kind of, a big victory, because you couldn't, it's just full of phenomenally esoteric knowledge.
Yeah.
But it's catchy.
Yes, it is.
It's full of choruses. And
It is full of choruses, full of hooks.
Hooks,
full of hooks
hooky.
and full of choruses. And a lot of it's about rave.
Yeah.
A lot of it's about rave,
Yeah,
which
man.
was a kind of... do you consider that a defining moment, the rave?
Man.
Yeah.
I think so. We were talking earlier about how rave allowed people who were actually like people of the past to come back to the point where somebody like Steve Hillage was suddenly major.
Yeah.
Someone like Genesis P-Orridge was doing like sort of double, acid, his own version of acid house.
Yeah.
And having an effect.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key to it. That it was it was another one of those what I would term a cultural elbow joint.
Yeah.
It's a compromise.
And it had that collectivist shamanistic kind of vibe that you're
again,
into. Yeah.
the way you throw yourself into these things, I think it's interesting when you talk about Gnosticism, and in the book you say, how about rock and roll as an alternative to Christianity? It seems to me that one of the themes, again, of the book and of you is pursuing non-religious things, but with a religious zeal.
With a religious zeal, yes. That's true, man.
Yeah.
But, I've recently started the Lord Yatesbury label.
Right.
Specifically because we're supposed to be moving, and I've been selling all my stuff, and I was like, everything is for sale. So I started
Are
selling.
you an accumulator? Have you accumulated...
If I've got more than 2 of anything, I'm collecting it.
Right,
Yeah, so I thought I'd just sell everything.
Mellotrons?
I need 2. Yeah, of course. Natch. And I started selling my reggae. And I was, all the old pre-releases, like on Joe Gibbs' label. And Joe Gibbs was big.
Yeah.
And I was showing the girls, and I was like, look, 2/7's Clash album, the original, and it doesn't even have a serial number.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to start this label that is so uncorporate, it's going to be on the Joe Gibbs tradition.
Yeah.
Or, or Well Charged. Selling the Well Charged thing, it wasn't until I came to sell it that I even knew what it was called. I'd had it over 30 years. I had to look up on Discogs because they didn't even have a name on the other side.
Yeah.
Right, wow.
And I'm very much looking forward to hearing more from Deglo Maradona, Nurse with Mind, all these people, all these great bands.
Yeah,
are in
they're
there.
absolutely, they're unyielding.
And you're already working on the next thing.
Yeah.
Which is a
A
Stone Circle
simultaneous sequel,
Avery thing.
prequel.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to 20,000 years.
Right.
But it also goes slightly into the future as well.
Right.
It doesn't involve really any of these characters.
No.
So it's, maybe 2 of the women.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you should say
Rock's very much dead.
131, a time-shifting Gnostic hooligan road novel, is out now. $14.99.
And if you're going to Glastonbury tonight, or you're there tomorrow midday,
Oh, you're there now?
You're there now. You're talking about it tomorrow at Glastonbury, aren't you?
Yeah, man.
Talking about the novel.
Yeah.
Excellent.
With me gauntlets,
With
they
the
will be
gauntlets.
there.
Absolutely. Julian,
Terrific stuff.
absolutely lovely to see you.
Fantastic
As
to
ever.
see you, man.